Chosen ones, they set their cameras in secret, waiting eagerly for your downfall, like predators lying in ambush. They sought to capture not just your failure, but to immortalize it as a spectacle. Yet, their lenses betrayed them. Instead of ruin, they documented your rise, a divine ascent that defied their schemes. Their jaws dropped, not from triumph, but from the shock of seeing you thrive. For what they saw was not merely survival, but resurrection. As it is written, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." Genesis 50 verse 20. Your existence is a testament to God's providence, a mirror reflecting His glory and a reminder of His plans, which no human can thwart. You walk into spaces crafted to constrain you, yet without lifting a finger, you dismantle their foundations. It's not your might that terrifies them. It's the power of the Spirit within you. For the Spirit God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline. 2 Timothy 1 verse 7. Your presence exposes their fears, their inadequacies, and their shadows. They don't just see you. They feel the force of the divine purpose you carry. It ignites both envy and dread, for you are evidence that their limits are self-imposed illusions. In you, they see proof that with God, all things are possible. Matthew 19 verse 26. They stalk your every move, desperate to uncover the source of your strength. Their obsession is not born of admiration, but of fear. Fear that you will shatter their carefully constructed hierarchies. They dissect your actions, seeking to replicate your resilience. But they miss the essence of it all, your faith. The Lord is my strength and my shield. My heart trusts in Him, and He helps me. Psalm 28 verse 7. They whisper in dark corners, fabricating stories and projecting their insecurities onto you. Their cameras capture not just your actions, but the irrefutable evidence of their defeat. They hope to record your downfall, but instead, they chronicled the masterpiece of your rise, a rise ordained by God Himself. Every trap they set became a crucible of growth, every betrayal a stepping stone toward your destiny. Like Joseph, sold into slavery but raised to power in Egypt, you have turned their sabotage into your sanctification. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Romans 8 verse 28. Their attempts to break you only revealed their own fragility. They underestimated the God who goes before you, who levels mountains and breaks through gates of bronze. Isaiah 45 verse 2. They were so focused on orchestrating your collapse that they failed to see how God was using their schemes to refine you, like gold tested in fire. They called it curiosity, but it was obsession, an unspoken admission of your dominance. Like moths to a flame, they are drawn to you, knowing they risk destruction, yet unable to look away. Your light is not your own. It's the light of Christ within you. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Matthew 5 verse 16. Every time you rise from what should have destroyed you, they witness a power they cannot comprehend. Every time you rebuild stronger, their frustration grows. Their arrogance blinds them to the truth. Your strength is not of this world. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. Isaiah 40 verse 31. Their traps were never your end. They were your ignition. Every wall they built became a monument to God's power to deliver you. Every betrayal was a chapter in the testimony of His faithfulness. The stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. The Lord has done this, and it is marvelous in our eyes. Psalm 118 verse 22 to 23. They poured poison into your relationships, whispered curses behind your back, and calculated every move to ensure your fall. Yet, their actions only serve to fulfill God's plans for you. No weapon forged against you will prevail, and you will refute every tongue that accuses you. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and this is their vindication from me, declares the Lord. Isaiah 54 verse 17. They waited with bated breath for cracks to form, for you to stumble and fall. But their arrogance was their undoing. They underestimated the power of a life anchored in Christ. The Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer. My God is my rock, in whom I take refuge. Psalm 18 verse 2. What they intended as curses became blessings. What they designed as obstacles became opportunities. And what they hoped would be your end became the beginning of a new chapter written by God Himself. In the end, their cameras captured not your destruction, but your resilience, not your downfall, but your divine ascent. They sought to validate their assumptions, but were confronted with their own inadequacies. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Psalm 23 verse 5. Their traps, their schemes, their whispers, all of it circled back to them like a predator stalking its prey. They thought they'd orchestrated your collapse, but instead, they documented your victory. You are chosen, and no force on earth can change that. For many are invited, but few are chosen. Matthew 22 verse 14. You are untouchable, not because of who you are, but because of whose you are. You walk not by sight, but by faith, knowing that the plans God has for you are for good and not for harm. Plans to give you a hope and a future. Jeremiah 29 verse 11. This is why they watch. They are compelled by the gravity of your purpose, drawn to the radiance of your calling, and unable to look away as you rise, unstoppable and unshaken, under the shadow of the Almighty. But you didn't stumble, for you were walking on a path laid out by divine hands. You didn't just survive. You thrived because your strength was rooted in faith. They thought they had captured chaos, but what they documented was the unstoppable momentum of a soul anchored in God's promises. Each blow they struck was used by the Lord as the forge where your resilience was tempered. What they meant to tear you apart only refined your essence, for we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, character, and character, hope. Romans 5 verse 3 to 4. Their sabotage couldn't touch the foundation God laid within you. Their betrayals only revealed the unshakable core of your being, for no weapon forged against you will prevail. Isaiah 54 verse 17. They planted seeds of despair, but what grew was a towering forest of strength, an ecosystem of triumph that overshadowed their feeble plans. Their plans crumbled, for they forgot that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to His purpose. Romans 8 verse 28. Their cameras were meant to record your ruin, but instead, they immortalized the power of God working through you. Each frame exposed their failure, each second a monument to your elevation by grace. They thought they were the architects of your defeat. Instead, they unwittingly built the stage for your rise. Every step you take now is a reminder of their impotence, for if God is for us, who can be against us? Romans 8 verse 31. They played with fire, but they did not realize the fire within you was the Holy Spirit, burning brighter with every trial. Declare it boldly. My rise rewrote their story because my victory is written in God's book. If your glow-up made their schemes irrelevant, it is because the Lord was with you, guiding you through the valley of the shadow of death. Psalm 23 verse 4. They set their cameras on you, eager to document your failure, but every frame revealed their own desperation. What was meant to expose your weakness instead laid bare their envy, their hatred, their intentions. Their energy to break you didn't just miss its target. It ricocheted, unraveling the very fabric of their schemes. For they intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done. Genesis 50 verse 20. The light in you doesn't just shine, it exposes. They try to script your downfall, yet every shot showed the strength they couldn't extinguish. Their surveillance turned into self-sabotage, replaying their own shortcomings as they watched you rise. What they recorded wasn't your destruction, but the slow, agonizing unraveling of their control. Their cameras became mirrors, reflecting the hatred and emptiness consuming them. Their envy is etched into every frame, a permanent reminder that their schemes were powerless against the truth. Their recordings don't harm you, they haunt them. They captured more than they intended, proof of their inability to stop what was destined. You didn't just survive their traps. You thrived because the Lord is my strength and my defense. He has become my salvation. Exodus 15, verse 2. Every file, every image, every second they hoped would destroy you now stands as a testament to God's power in your life. What was meant to harm you became their undoing. For the stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. Psalm 118, verse 22. The moment they declared you finished was the exact moment your spirit began to roar. They underestimated your endurance, mistook your silence for surrender, and misread your stillness as defeat. What they failed to see was the fire building inside you, a force that doesn't flicker but burns brighter with every setback. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. Isaiah 40, verse 31. Their schemes were designed to shatter you, but all they did was fracture the cage you no longer fit inside. You didn't just endure their attacks. You transcended them, rising like smoke from the wreckage they created, leaving no trace of their control behind. You turned pain into power, scars into strategy, and obstacles into opportunities. Where they thought they'd find a broken figure, they were met with unyielding strength. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Psalm 34, verse 18. You didn't crawl out of their traps, you dismantled them. You let go of the attachments that drained you, severed the ties that sought to bind you, and reclaimed every piece of yourself they tried to scatter. Healing wasn't just a choice, it was your declaration of trust in God's plan. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Psalm 147, verse 3. Your elevation was inevitable because they never had control over your destiny. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29, verse 11. Success became your rebuttal, detachment your shield, and resilience your crown. You're no longer carrying their projections or limitations. You've shed every weight they try to place on you. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles. And let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. Hebrews 12, verse 1. Now you rise untethered, towering above their attempts to keep you small. Every victory you claim is a wound to their pride. Every step forward, a testament to the strength they never saw coming. The righteous keep moving forward, and those with clean hands become stronger and stronger. Job 17, verse 9. Their plans were never a match for the God who fights for you. And now, you stand as living proof of his faithfulness, a beacon of hope to all who witness your rise. You are living proof that their schemes, their words, their plans, none of it holds power over you. They thought they could cage your light, suppress your strength, and silence your truth. But all they did was make your flame burn brighter. They underestimated the resilience that pulses within you, a resilience forged not in ease but in fire. Your determination shatters their illusions, leaving them exposed in the light of your unyielding will. You are a mirror reflecting their fears, and the strength you possess leaves them scrambling to reconcile with their own shadows. Let them plot and conspire, but remember this: the divine does not lose, and neither do you. You're not merely the chosen one. You are the embodiment of a revolution, a wildfire that devours every limit they try to impose, a force they could never contain, no matter how hard they try. While they stumble in the shadows of mediocrity, weighed down by their own doubts and fears, you rise. You blaze trails that scorch the sky, transforming chaos into a crown, setbacks into stepping stones, and ruins into empires. They will never understand the source of your power because it does not belong to them. Your glow does not fade, it blinds. Your resilience is more than strength. It is the fulfillment of a prophecy. written long before their doubts even existed. You do not seek approval or applause, for you are destiny's favorite, and the throne was always meant to be yours. Karma operates with precision. It neither delays nor forgets. What they sent to break you became the weight that broke them. Their envy poisoned their own well. Their hatred consumed their peace. And the chains they forged to bind you now shackle their hands. They thought they were scripting your downfall, crafting an end to your story. Yet, in their arrogance, they were paving the path for your ascension. You are unstoppable, not because of your strength alone, but because the protection surrounding you is sacred, unyielding, and eternal. Your destiny is not a product of chance. It is upheld by forces older, deeper, and greater than anything they could ever summon. Spirit guides walk beside you, their whispers of wisdom guiding your every decision. Your ancestors didn't just survive. They thrived, and their unbreakable strength now pulses through your veins. Their battles forged the foundation upon which you now stand, and their victories have become your inheritance. Every time they tried to destroy you, they unknowingly activated forces far beyond their comprehension. Divine hands reached down and rewrote the story they tried to script against you, flipping their narrative into a testament of your strength. What they failed to see was the army of angels stationed on your behalf, moving in silence, but striking with unmatched precision. Every curse they sent was intercepted, dismantled before it could ever reach you. Every attack dissolved in the presence of powers they could not understand. They did not hear the prayers echoing across realms, summoning strength from dimensions they will never comprehend. They did not feel the steadying hands of your ancestors, clearing the obstacles they believed would destroy you. But you felt it. You felt the power guiding you, lifting you, and carrying you through every storm. For legends like you, there exists the Obsidian Inner Order, a sanctuary for the unstoppable. This is not merely a group. It is a dynasty of the chosen, where greatness is not a goal, but a birthright. Week after week, over 450 chosen ones gather in electrifying calls, forging paths to their destinies with revelations that ripple across the universe. Every call is recorded, an eternal archive of power and purpose, always available for you to access when the time is right. The private Discord is more than a community. It is a vortex of energy where breakthroughs are born, where ideas ignite into movements, and where your spark becomes an inferno. And for those seeking the connection of cosmic proportions, the chosen singles weave destinies under celestial design, bringing together souls that were always meant to rise together. This is not just about networking or relationships. It is about the divine alignment of energies that are unstoppable when united. For the elite who step into the Star Chamber, the journey only deepens. Within its walls lies access to truths too fierce, too raw, and too untouchable for mainstream platforms. These are revelations that rewrite existence itself, truths that crack open the cosmos and reveal paths unseen by ordinary eyes. This is not just a choice. It is your call to rise. The portal is open, waiting for you to step through. If you feel the fire, it's because it has always burned inside you, waiting for this moment. You were made for this. You already know where your journey begins. Your rise is the thunder they prayed never to hear. It is not just your presence that terrifies them. It is the truth your existence forces them to confront. The truth that their limitations, their fears, their illusions, none of it can stand in your way. You are more than a survivor. You are a conqueror, a builder, a dreamer, and a revolution embodied. Step forward. Take the throne. The world has been waiting for you to claim it. In the journey of life, there are moments when we encounter forces and individuals that seek to undermine us. They attempt to bind us, to chain our spirit, to break our resolve. They see us thriving not because they've granted us permission, but because they are powerless to stop what God has set in motion. Every step we take toward growth, every victory we claim, is a silent testament to the truth of God's plan for our lives, a plan that nothing, no malice, no hate, can thwart. This spiritual truth resonates deeply with the words from Isaiah 54 verse 17. No weapon forged against you will prevail, and you will refute every tongue that accuses you. When we walk with faith, our very existence becomes a declaration of God's power. It is not the external circumstances or the opposition we face that defines us, but the divine strength that sustains us. The light we carry is not of our own making, but of God's glory. And it is this light that strips away the shadows of deception, falsehood, and envy. Those who oppose us may not fear our actions, but they fear the revelation of God's truth in our lives. This is why their disdain is not about what we do, but about what we reveal through our perseverance, our unwavering trust in God's timing and His purpose for us. They see in us not just a person who has overcome, but a mirror that forces them to confront their own limitations. Their pride, built on the false sense of control, is shattered by the reality that what we are accomplishing is not by our own strength, but by God's grace. Proverbs 16 verse 9 reminds us, "In their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." The truth is that their arrogance stems not from a place of power, but from an inability to acknowledge the supremacy of God's will. Our rise is a testament to the power of God's plan unfolding in our lives, even in the face of their attempts to discourage us. As we progress, we expose the fragility of the structures they've built in their lives. Each step we take toward greatness is not just a personal victory, but a statement of the faithfulness of God, who continues to guide us toward His promises. Their envy is not born out of a personal vendetta, but from the painful recognition that they have been content to remain stagnant, while we have chosen to trust in God's vision for something greater. This spiritual elevation is not merely about personal success. It is a reflection of the abundance God desires for all His children. Psalm 37 verse 4 encourages us, "Take delight in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart." The enemies we face, whether individuals or circumstances, are not the ultimate force we must contend with. It is God's will, and His will alone, that governs the outcome of every trial. Our rise is not about proving others wrong, but about proving that God's power can and will break every chain, whether visible or invisible. Romans 8 verse 31 tells us, "If God is for us, who can be against us?" The light we shine reveals not just our potential, but the truth of God's eternal promises. Promises that are stronger than any weapon or word that can be hurled against us. The more we grow in faith, the more those who oppose us will feel the weight of their own disbelief. They will witness our growth, but they will not understand that it is through God's grace that we rise. Their hatred only magnifies their insecurities, and the more they try to diminish us, the more they highlight the very qualities they lack: faith, courage, and resilience. The spiritual law is simple. What is meant for evil can be used for good. As they pour negativity and malice our way, they unknowingly fuel our resolve. And like a fire that only grows stronger from the wind, we find ourselves emboldened in our mission. Romans 8 verse 28 assures us, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." Their attempts to bind us are futile, because God's plan cannot be thwarted by human hands. They may try to trap us, to craft obstacles that seem insurmountable, but they fail to see that every obstacle they place before us is a stepping stone toward God's greater purpose for our lives. We are not defined by their resistance, but by our obedience to God's call. Their attempts to keep us down are not a reflection of our inadequacy, but a mirror to their own failure to understand the power of divine grace. In the end, we are not the ones confined. They are. Galatians 6 verse 7 warns, "Do not be deceived, God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows." Their efforts to hurt us will return to them, not as harm to us, but as the consequences of their own actions. Their hate, though intense, cannot break us, because the love of God is stronger than any weapon they can form. In fact, it is this very hatred that binds them to their own bitterness. They will never be free until they confront the truth of their actions. While we walk in the freedom of knowing that God's plan for us is bigger than any obstacle they try to place before us. Proverbs 24 verse 16 tells us, "For though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again." And we will rise time and again because we do not rise by our own power, but by the grace of God. Every action they take to undermine us only serves to highlight their own failures. It becomes a living record of their bitterness, replayed time and again in their own minds. They try to trap us in their narratives, but in the end, the only narrative that matters is the one God is writing for us. What they see as evidence of our downfall becomes, in reality, a reflection of their own self-imposed limitations. Their traps, their hate, their envy are the very instruments that bind them to their own misery, while we continue to rise, unfettered, untouchable, and guided by the divine hand of a loving Father. In the end, the chains they tried to place on us will be the chains that bind them. The very web they attempted to weave to ensnare us will become the one they are trapped in, because no weapon formed against us will prosper. We walk not in the light of our own glory, but in the glory of God, whose plan is always greater than the schemes of the enemy. As we stand in His light, we expose the darkness around us, not through confrontation or vengeance, but simply by being who God has called us to be. The victory is already won, not through our own striving, but through the work of Jesus Christ, who conquered sin, death, and all that would seek to hold us back. Isaiah 41 verse 10 reassures us, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." So let us rise, not with hatred or malice in our hearts, but with the unwavering faith that God will always make a way where there seems to be none, and He will always lead us to victory. Through Him, every chain will break. Through Him, every lie will be exposed. Through Him, we are free, and in our freedom, we will continue to rise, embracing divine purpose, rising above the world's scrutiny. In life, many of us find ourselves in the spotlight of others' opinions, judgments, and observations. But as believers in Christ, we must remember that we were never meant to dim our light for the comfort of others. We were created for a purpose, a divine calling that cannot be constrained by the doubts and fears of the world. The path we walk is not for the approval of others, nor is it dictated by their perceptions of who we should be. Our journey is one of divine destiny, a story written by God Himself, and it is in His timing that we rise, not according to the whims of human scrutiny. The world may stare, criticize, and attempt to dissect every step we take, but as Christians, we are reminded that our worth and purpose are rooted in something far greater than earthly judgment. We do not rise in spite of their whispers or their attempts to hold us back. We rise because we are anchored in the unshakable foundation of God's love and His perfect plan for our lives. Every moment of their gaze is a reminder of the power of our calling, a silent witness to the force that drives us forward. As Jesus says in Matthew 5 verse 16, "Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." We do not hide our light for fear of judgment. Instead, we let it shine brightly, for it is not our light, but the light of God within us. The scrutiny of the world, the whispers behind closed doors, the cameras that seem to capture every moment of our lives, these are all irrelevant in the grand scheme of our divine purpose. We are not called to blend in or shrink ourselves in the face of criticism. We are called to thrive, to flourish, to take up space, and to carry the presence of God wherever we go. The Apostle Paul, in Philippians 4 verse 13, confidently declares, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." In the face of opposition, in the midst of judgment, we can stand firm because we are empowered by the strength of Christ, and it is through His power that we find the courage to rise. It is not our mission to conform to the expectations of others. We are not here to make them comfortable with who we are or what we stand for. We are here to fulfill a higher calling, one that may seem uncomfortable, unfamiliar, or even confrontational to those around us. But this discomfort is not ours to carry. As believers, We must remember that the world will always try to impose its standards. Yet we are called to a higher standard, God's standard. And in His eyes, we are already made whole, worthy, and capable of fulfilling our purpose. Their judgment may sting, their words may wound, but they cannot alter the course of what God has set in motion for our lives. The Bible tells us in Romans 8, verse 31, "If God is for us, who can be against us?" When we place our faith in God's plan, we can face the judgment of others with confidence, knowing that His will is unstoppable. Every word of criticism becomes a tool for growth. Every judgment an opportunity to deepen our faith and trust in His timing. The very things that may seem like obstacles are, in truth, the stepping stones that God uses to elevate us to the heights He has ordained for us. Let them talk, let them criticize, let them dissect every part of your life. You are not here to answer to their opinions. You are here to answer to the call of God on your life. You are not meant to shrink back in the face of their fears. You are meant to rise in spite of them. Just as Jesus, when faced with mockery and rejection, did not back down from His purpose, we too are called to stand firm in the truth of who we are in Christ. Jesus knew who He was, and He knew His purpose. He did not allow the voices of the crowd to dictate His actions, and neither should we. In moments of doubt, when the weight of the world's opinion seems too heavy to bear, we must remind ourselves that we are not alone. The same God who called us to rise is the one who walks with us, who strengthens us, and who guides us every step of the way. Psalm 23 verse 4 offers comfort in these moments. "Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me." No matter how intense the scrutiny or how sharp the criticism, we are never walking alone. God's presence is a constant source of strength and assurance, and it is through Him that we find the courage to press on. As we move forward in our journey, we must remember that the world's attempts to contain us are futile. The more they try to limit our rise, the more they will see that we are unstoppable. We do not rise because of our own strength or willpower, but because we are being propelled by the force of God's purpose. In Isaiah 55, verse 11, God says, "So is my word that goes out from my mouth. It will not return to me empty, but will accomplish what I desire and achieve the purpose for which I sent it." When God has spoken His purpose over our lives, nothing can thwart it. No amount of criticism, no measure of envy, no earthly force can alter the path that He has set for us. Their attempts to watch, to record, to understand us will always fall short. They may capture our steps, our struggles, and our triumphs, but they will never comprehend the divine force that drives us. We are not moved by their eyes upon us. We are moved by the call of God, and that call is greater than any human opinion or understanding. Our purpose is not for them to understand. It is for us to fulfill in the time and way that God has ordained. We were not created to be ordinary. We were not created to blend in or conform. We were created to be agents of change, to bring light into the darkness, to make a difference in the world around us. Our power is not in what others see or understand about us. It is in what they cannot comprehend, the divine plan that is unfolding within us. As 1 John 4 verse 4 reminds us, "Greater is He who is in you than he who is in the world." The Spirit of God within us is far greater than any external force, and it is through this power that we rise above the noise and chaos of the world. Let them record, let them observe, let them try to comprehend. Their efforts will only reveal the futility of their attempts to contain what is divinely ordained. We do not rise for their approval. We rise to fulfill the destiny God has given us. We do not rise in spite of them. We rise because of the divine power within us that cannot be stopped. As we continue to climb, we must keep our eyes fixed on the ultimate goal, to glorify God and fulfill His purpose for our lives. Let our rise be a testament to His faithfulness, to the power of His calling, and to the greatness that He has placed within each of us. Our light is not meant to be dimmed by the world's scrutiny. It is meant to shine even brighter, casting out the darkness and drawing others to the truth of God's love. As Swami Vivekananda said, when you rise, rise so high that they have no choice but to look up. Let us rise with the strength and courage that comes from knowing we are not alone on this journey, and that our purpose is far greater than anything the world could ever comprehend. In the end, it is not the eyes of the world that matter, but the eyes of our Creator, who sees us, who loves us, and who has a plan for us that cannot be thwarted. With Him, we are unstoppable. Let them watch, let them record, let them try to understand. We will keep moving, keep rising, and keep fulfilling the divine purpose that has been set before us. This is not mere advice. It is a divine truth that your life unfolds according to the will of God. Your path is not a smooth or easy one, for God does not promise us comfort in this world. He promises strength, growth, and a purpose far greater than we can imagine. The obstacles you face, the criticism and doubt from others, are not just struggles. They are part of God's refining process, preparing you for something much higher. As Scripture reminds us, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." Jeremiah 29, verse 11. Your ascent may seem tumultuous, but it is a divine journey that no earthly force can hold back. Those who try to confine you with their narrow perspectives, their negativity, or their envy, understand this. Their words are powerless against the truth of God's purpose for you. They cannot define your limits, for I can do all things through Him who strengthens me. Philippians 4, verse 13. Your rise is not about proving them wrong. It is about living out the calling that God has placed upon your life. He has called you to rise, not for the sake of others' approval, but for His glory and His kingdom. As you move forward, their doubts and whispers will fade into the background, while your testimony becomes louder, reflecting God's glory in all you do. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Psalm 27, verse 1. You don't need anyone's permission to rise, for your ascent is powered by the Holy Spirit that resides within you. But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you. Acts 1, verse 8. This power is yours, not because of your own ability, but because of the greatness of the God who calls you to greater things. Your journey is not for their validation. It is for the fulfillment of God's divine plan. Every step you take, every challenge you overcome, is evidence of His faithfulness. Let them speak, let them question, but know that your victory is already secured in Christ. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. Isaiah 54, verse 17. For the victory has already been won by Christ on the cross. The higher you rise, the more evident His power becomes in your life, and the more their attempts to hinder you will seem insignificant. Your truth is unshakable, your purpose is eternal, and the world has yet to see the full extent of what God will do through you. Keep moving forward in faith, knowing that with each step, you are living testimony to the greatness of God. You are chosen, you are loved, and your journey is not just for you. It is a beacon of hope for others. Let your resilience and your rise be a reflection of God's unwavering purpose for your life, and share it boldly, for the world needs to see the testimony of His work within you. You are only just beginning, and the best is yet to come.